In 1983, 4 short years after Pope John Paul II used his visit to Ireland to preach against abortion, the Eighth Amendment was added to the Irish Constitution. Abortion was already illegal, and a law dating back to 1861 threatened any woman or doctor carrying out an abortion with life imprisonment. The Eighth Amendment states, "The state acknowledges the right to life of the unborn, and with due regard to the equal right to life of the mother, guarantees in its laws to respect, and as far as practicable, by its laws to defend and vindicate that right." The referendum was passed by a 2/3 majority. 4 months later, on January 31st, 1984, 15-year-old Anne Lovett died, giving birth to a baby in a grotto in County Longford. There are still many questions surrounding the case, including the circumstances of her pregnancy and whether anyone knew she was pregnant. In 1992, the horrific consequence of the Eighth Amendment shocked the country. In December 1991, a 14-year-old schoolgirl was raped by a man who was a friend of her family and became pregnant. Early in 1992, the rape was reported to the Gardaí. Her parents agreed to take her to England for an abortion and informed the Gardaí of their decision, as they wanted the Gardaí to use samples from the fetus as evidence to prove the rapist's guilt. Instead of helping the family, the Gardaí informed the Director of Public Prosecutions, who liaised with the Attorney General. He obtained an interim injunction on the basis of the Eighth Amendment, stopping the girl and her parents from leaving the country or arranging an abortion. The young girl was then dragged through the courts, where a clinical psychologist determined that there is a risk of suicide, as the girl expressed a desire to end her life to solve matters. Up and down the country, there was an explosion of anger, and thousands of mainly young women and men poured onto the streets to say, "Let her go." Her parents appealed to the Supreme Court, which then ruled that women too have a right to life under the Eighth Amendment, and that a threat to life by suicide conferred a right to abortion, just as did a threat to life by a physical illness. The anti-abortionists demanded a referendum to reverse the judgment and make it clear that the risk to life by suicide should not be a ground for abortion. The government gave in, and in November 1992, 3 amendments are put to the people on the same day. The 12th Amendment sought to overturn the judgment in the X case, while the 13th Amendment permitted travel to another country to obtain abortion, and the 14th Amendment permitted information to be given about services in other countries. The 13th and 14th Amendments were passed by almost 2-1, but the attempt to roll back the X case judgment was rejected by 65% to 35%. In 2002, another referendum was held, seeking to remove suicide as grounds for abortion. This is again rejected. In 2010, in the case of A, B and C versus Ireland, the European Court of Human Rights unanimously rules that Ireland's failure to implement the existing constitutional right to a lawful abortion when a woman's life is at risk violates applicant C's rights under Article 8 of the European Convention on Human Rights. In 2012, the country was in upheaval following the death of Savita Halappanavar. Savita was admitted to Galway University Hospital when she was 17 weeks pregnant but in the process of miscarrying. She was repeatedly refused determination because the fetal heartbeat was present. But this led to an infection which went undetected despite Savita and her husband Prawi pointing to her fever and illness. Days later, she went into septic shock and died. Praveen claimed the couple had been told determination was not allowed because Ireland is a Catholic country. Her untimely death led to a very limited change in Irish legislation. Under the Protection of Life During Pregnancy Act 2013, a woman has the right to termination if her life is at risk, including where she is suicidal. But the Act also states that it is an offence to intentionally destroy unborn human life, for which the punishment can be imprisonment for up to 14 years. Attaching very restrictive conditions to abortions has already proven to be a failure. In 2014, Ms. Y, a young immigrant to Ireland, became pregnant after being raped in her home country. She asked about getting an abortion when she was just 7 weeks pregnant, but despite being obviously suicidal, was refused. She ran away to Liverpool despite not having a visa or the money to pay for an abortion. She was arrested in Liverpool and returned to Ireland, where she went on hunger strike. She was promised an abortion if she ended the hunger strike, but was being lied to in order to bring the pregnancy to viability. She was forced to give birth in Ireland by caesarean section, when authorities obtained a court order to deliver the baby at 25 weeks of pregnancy. In the run-up to Christmas 2014, the true horror of what the Eighth Amendment means was felt by one grieving family. A pregnant woman died on the 3rd of December and was declared brain dead, but because she was 15 weeks pregnant, the doctors could not switch off the life support as the fetus would die. So the family faced the prospect of their loved one's body being kept on life support for months as a human incubator, something they knew she would not have wanted. They went to the High Court, and on the day after Christmas Day, the courts agreed that the machines could be turned off because there was no chance of the fetus continuing to develop in a dead body. In 2018, we have the opportunity to remove the Eighth Amendment from the Constitution and to provide real choices in healthcare for women and pregnant people.